Welcome to a special edition of NASCAR Talk. I'm Nino, the greatest, the undisputed, the champ. You already know. Today I got a special treat for y'all. I am doing an interview with one of the pit crew members for JGR on an Xfinity side, and his name is Ray Fernandez. He does the gas man, and yeah, we'll get to it. So I'm Kevin. I'm from Nino Sports Network. I'm the owner, but I'm gonna ask a couple questions as far as like being a pit crew member. Question number one. Do you work for just one specific team, or do you work on multiple teams during the race weekend? If so, how does that work? How does like that balance of going to one team to another team that specific weekend? Question number two. Do you guys train during the off season? Like at least, like you have to stay in the shop, or do you guys get some time off before, going to report back for the season? Question number three. What inspired you to become a pit crew member? Question number four, and this will be my final question. During the race, do you usually stay locked in, even though your pit stop's already done? What do you guys normally do? Do you have like a certain type of music you listen to on your head during each session and each stop that keeps you locked in and focused? And thank you for your time so much. Wonderful. Again, I'm Kevin from Nino Sports Network. Thank you again.
What's up, Kevin? So I got your questions here. I wrote them down, what you said. So basically, I'm Ray Hernandez. I work for Joe Gibbs Racing, so that's who pays my salary. That's who I train with in the off season, during the season. That's where I work out. That's where I work from, is Joe Gibbs Racing. That's who I work for. And your first question was, who do I work for on the weekend? So I do all three series. As a fueler, you can do all three series. I do truck, Xfinity, and Cup. So for truck, I do Tricon, which is a Toyota team. And they have like a partnership, I guess you can call it, or an agreement or a negotiation or whatever with Gibbs. And essentially, they pay for us to like pit their trucks. So I work with Tricon on Fridays, Friday nights. So I've done a lot of different trucks for Tricon, and before that it was KBM, but this year we're on the 15 truck. I used to do 15, then last year 17, now 15 again. So that's Tricon, Friday nights, truck. And then Saturdays I do Xfinity with Gibbs. Obviously that's who I work for, so I do Gibbs. I've done a bunch of different drivers with them. I've done Brandon Jones. My first year did Sammy Smith when he was with us. Last year we did, I was on that all-star car, so we had a bunch of wins because we had a bunch of Cup guys in it. And then this year I'm with Taylor Gray, who was my truck driver last year. And then, yeah, so I work for Gibbs on Saturdays. And then Sunday, I work for Front Row Motorsports. So Front Row, very similar as to Tricon. They pay Gibbs for a pit crew, and then because I'm like a Devo guy, I'm still like learning or whatever. And still early in my career, I'm like waiting for a spot to open up as a fueler on the house cars. I work for Front Row, so I'm on the 4 car for Front Row. Last year was 34, so I'm with Noah Gregson this year. How's the balance for those? To be honest, it's not like it's so hard, to be honest with you. Like, it's the same thing. It's just the lengths of the races change and the people that you work with change, but it's really the same idea every single time. You're trying to go as fast as possible. So that's the answer for the first question. The second question that you asked was about the off season. So do we train in the off season? Do we have time off? So right when the season's over, we probably go back to Gibbs for like a week, and we're returning equipment. We're returning, not fire suits, but you get certain things that you have to return. Like, for example, for me, it's like fuel heads and fuel cans. So that stuff, you return it because obviously you don't take it with you. The fuel heads, you kind of keep them safe at the shop until you come back, because we do get a vacation, and it's like a month or something like that we have off. And then you can obviously stay at Gibbs and train, or you can go on vacation and come back, but you get time off. It's usually like the whole month of November, and then like a good amount of December before you have to come back in for like workouts and practice, and then January you really ramp back up. It just depends on each team. Like, my hair's all fucked up, but sorry. It just depends on every team. Every team does it differently. Like Gibbs, it just depends on our coach, and Berkey's a good guy, so he gives us a good amount of time off. He even gives us time off during the season if we need it, like PTO and stuff. But yeah, being at Gibbs is the best. What else? Yeah, so we have time off. We train in the off season, so everybody does like kind of a different workout plan. We do work out at Gibbs too. We have a trainer there too, like a strength coach. But everybody kind of does their own thing, especially in the off season. Question 3, what inspired me to be a pit crew member? To be honest with you, like nothing inspired me to be a pit crew member. I was playing baseball. I was drafted by the Braves. I played for a good amount of time. I was a really good baseball player, to be honest. But I was in the minor leagues. I wasn't making a lot of money, and then this opportunity comes up with Gibbs. I just like through connections, through meeting people or whatever. This like opportunity was like presented to me, so I felt like I had to take it. I was already living in Charlotte too, so. It made sense to at least try out and see what Gibbs was talking about, like what was their deal. And then so I get in there, and I was a fan of NASCAR, not like a huge fan, but I was a fan growing up. I grew up in Orlando, which is very close to Daytona, so I knew about a lot of different drivers, and so I understood how I worked with teams and what the whole situation was even before I got hired. And then they just offered me like a contract, like when you first start. And just like the base salary, the very, very beginning was way more than I was making in baseball. So I just said, you know what, like, it's not really working out for me. I'm kind of tired of being in the minor leagues, and it's kind of taking too long for me to develop and move up. So I stopped playing baseball, and I took this opportunity. And thankfully, I've moved up in this where I'm like in a good situation right now. So yeah, that's the pit crew kind of like inspiration. Yeah, and then the last question. What do we do during the race? So like you always stay locked in because obviously you have scheduled pit stops. We call, scheduled pit stops, but like at the end of every stage, you're expecting to pit. Every single team has a strategy, but most teams, especially when the race first starts, everybody's technically on the same strategy, so everybody kind of pits at the same time. But obviously, people staying out, cautions, and there's so many factors that affect strategy during the race that it just really depends on your crew chief and your manufacturing. There's a lot of things that affect when you stop. So basically, you can really stop anytime. The crew chief gives you kind of a lap time, let's say, like between lap 20 and 40, let's say. And a lot of that is fuel dependent or tires dependent, right? Like in Daytona and Talladega, it's fuel dependent. But if we go to like Darlington or one of these smaller tracks, Martinsville, it's more tire dependent because the tires are wearing out. And you're always locked in because you can't afford to not be locked in. You're not like walking off. You're there, ready in case he crashes. Oftentimes, it'll be like a caution that makes you jump up and like get ready for a pit stop. And if it's a caution from a different car, it's not as speedy as it. But if you're the one that crashed or you're the one who spun out, oftentimes they're coming into the box very quickly. It could be like 15, 20 seconds, especially at certain tracks. Like a good example is like Bristol. Bristol's a tiny racetrack where literally they can crash into the box. They can crash and get right on top of you. So if you're not paying attention, or if you're kind of like dozing off, they'll be in the box ready for quote unquote maintenance, ready for us to do a pit stop, and we're not ready. So you're always ready all the time. And you don't listen to music during the races because you're listening to the spotter, the crew chief, and the driver the whole race. So when you do talk to your people, you're like screaming at each other like, yo, or like doing hand signals or whatever, like mouthing to each other, like just like that's how you talk with the people. And like during the race, you talk about anything. Race, you talk about whatever you want. It's your team, and you spend a lot of time with each other, so you definitely have a lot of things to talk about. But there's kind of a time and a place. There's times where you're talking, there's times where you're talking about the track or the race or whatever.
And thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, do what you gotta do. You already know. Tell a friend and tell a friend. I'm here. Be back on Monday for Code to Talk. We're out. Peace.